lately we've got one of the guys that's got some space in his office.
Okay.
And so we find that's the best because it's a more neutral setting. We have had it in people's homes. Typically we all go to someone's office who's got the space to hold
Okay.
us.
So you have a group of men that are not hiding behind alcohol, not hiding behind sports, not hiding, and that. And I can imagine that that must be pretty novel for a lot of guys. Well, I've been to a lot of men's groups and I've participated, but I know it was novel for a lot of people. Is that kind of weird for guys to start with that to begin with?
Yeah, if to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what's amazing to me, Luke, is that it doesn't take too long before the guys go, hey, now I know what was missing in my life. Now
Really?
they start to look forward to it every month,
Really?
right? And now they're looking forward to that meeting every month.
Where does intimacy come in with your conversations or just even being around the other guys? Because I interviewed Mark not too long ago, that was in one of the other Sundays, and he's part of, drawing a blank on it, the Mankind Project.
Yes.
And Mark was telling me that he brought up intimacy and talking about intimacy, and that was something that they really went with in a lot of ways. Do you guys talk about intimacy? And because it's kind of odd for men to talk about intimacy to other men. Has that
Sure.
ever come up? Or?
For sure it comes up.
Yeah?
We don't. Tell me what you mean when you say intimacy, though.
Just even having the discussion about being intimate with women and being what intimacy looks like, and how is it that and often intimacy is confused with sexuality and being sexual in a lot of
Right.
ways.
Yes.
And that's not true intimacy. That's
Right.
maybe a byproduct of intimacy, but being able to actually be open and exposed and honest and literally go, here I am, and that kind of stuff, that's the intimacy, and be authentic. So there must be a lot of intimate conversations that go on about guys just being straight and their pain and whatnot. Am I correct about
Very
that?
much so. Very
Okay.
much so. That's, if we're not getting that out of the group, then there's not much juice in showing up. I mean, there's got to be some juice out of this meeting.
Right.
And that's where it comes from, is that vulnerability,
Right.
and that willingness to show up with the other guys, and the willingness to not only show yourself, but then also the willingness to call the other guys on what you see going on with them.
Because that's what true friendship is basically saying, hey, I see you're hurting yourself this way, and I care too much about you to continue to hurt yourself this way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That must
And
be.
that's what I think is missing a lot of times when I see other men, that they just kind of drift and they don't call each other. And that's one of our commitments, is
Right.
to call each other when we see stuff. So yeah, sometimes that's difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that I recently did a video on is men calling each other on their bullshit and being able to actually confront each other, and it's caring enough about the other person to say, hey, this is what I see going on in your life.
Yeah.
And I say that there's two reasons why we don't confront each other. And one of the reasons is because we don't want people to confront us,
Yeah.
and we don't want people to dislike us, in a lot of ways. And when you're in your group, the men's league, I guess that's really not an option, because you're being authentic and you're being straight and you're being honest with each other. It must be really blowing a lot of men's mind when they're in there and they actually get into it. And what kind of feedback have you heard from the guys about that process on them? Do they feel more alive? Do they feel more, what is that? Or what has it been for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's a tremendous way of describing it, Luke, is you feel more alive.
Okay.
You feel you have permission to be real. You have a permission to be yourself and to be authentic. And there are times when, even in the midst of that, it's still difficult, because we all have, I know I do, I can go so far, and then there's a point at which, hey, wait a minute, I don't know whether I want to go any deeper than this.
Right. Right.
And then that's the point where, of course, my experience is that's where the biggest diamonds are to be found, is when you can break through that.
Well said.
And sometimes we're willing to go there a little bit further than other times.
Is it people, you don't want to go there because of the shame, or worried about being judged, which is kind of shame in some ways? What do you think? Is
Yeah,
it
I
is
think
it
it's-
worried about what other people are going to think about you, or the fact that you just don't want to admit that in yourself?
Oh, it's a combination of both.
Okay,
Yeah,
on both those.
yeah, sure. And there's a facade we all have that I know I do.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's-
there's certain things that I just really don't want to see that amount of vulnerability show up.
For sure.
And every time I've allowed it to show up, I find that it's just absolutely amazing how, the guys accept me even bit more than they did before. Right? It's I've never had a situation yet where that has completely backfired and blown up in my face when you're with a group of men that are committed to that from the outset.
Yeah, I can tell that there's a lot of people that'd be watching this going, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about
Yeah.
on that, having that kind of connection. And my last question is more about, you've mentioned authenticity on that. And what does it mean to be authentic and be in an authentic relationship with men and with women?
Wow, there's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
There that is, yeah. Yeah.
So for me, the authenticity is when I can connect my head and my heart.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And when I feel that what I'm speaking and what I'm sharing is got some emotion behind it, and it's a true emotion, it's not a masked emotion, because a lot of times, I find that certain emotions, like let's say anger, is a secondary emotion.
Right.
That really what's going on is it's a cover for something else.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And that when I can get past that superficial and you really get down to where I know I've touched something deep inside myself, now I know I'm being authentic. I think a lot of times we get confused. We think, or I think, I'm being emotional, therefore I'm being authentic.
Right.
Right?
Right.
No. I mean,
No.
especially for men in our society, being emotional is a great place to start because a lot of them don't even go there.
Exactly
Right?
right.
But then to dive deeper and go past whatever the superficial emotion is and come down to what's the deep one, whether it's shame or fear or hurt or what have you, that's when you get into some authenticity.
Yeah, and that's when you're really exposed, and that's when, and for me, it's really about that, those uglies we don't want to look at and whatnot. And often what I'll say in my videos is that being able to experience those emotions and stay in those is actually a skill set, because if you've never learned how to do it and you've never really been in that place or shown that it's okay, then it's pretty scary. And who wants to go there if it's scary? Especially if you don't know you're going to come out the other side better.
That's right.
If you've never had the experience of where you step off into that big cavernous void and don't know that you're going to actually be okay,
Yeah.
well, why the hell would you want to go there?
Yes.
And I think that this is one of my missions, is to have men talk to other men and go, A, it's possible, B, your life's going to be better, and C, you deserve it.
Yes.
You definitely deserve that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You've nailed it exactly.
Right on.
Because first of all is the whole idea that for me, a lot of those emotions were so out of bounds and offside, I didn't even know what they were when they hit me upside of the head.
Right.
Right? And so the first thing is it possible, is just to get in touch with them in the first place.
Right.
And to recognize, oh, guess what? That's an emotion.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And then to go from that stage to actually being willing to name it and label it,
Right.
identify it, and claim it as being, that's part of me, and then being willing to share it with someone else,
Right.
and then being willing to, at the same time, then the final stage to me is to be able to say, yeah, but it's not me,
Well said.
right?
It doesn't identify me.
It doesn't identify me.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just because I'm afraid doesn't mean
Right.
that
Yeah.
I am that
Right.
I'm fear. It's just an emotion that's passing through me. And that's one of the most difficult for me, is to get that where it stays stuck and I start to identify with it instead of recognizing, hey, you know what? That's just an emotion. It'll
Right.
pass and we'll carry on.
What I find really important about what you're saying is that men have been cast with this particular thing that we are, and so many men, and we're kind of dismissed as being this, and that is we're just angry.
Yeah.
It has an anger problem, anger issues and whatnot. And so therefore what it is we kind of, it's this persona, or this is part of the identity as to who they are. And as I've said, anger is not a bad emotion. Anger can be very motivating. Anger can help people find their voice.
That's right.
But you are not only an angry person. You may see the world that way, you may act angry, but the thing is that to actually decide that you're going to be more than what your feelings and what your emotions are is really important.
Really, really important.
Yeah.
And to me, anger is a great gift because it's a clue. It's a
Well
clue
said.
that there's a door to go through,
Right.
and that there's way more to be mined underneath all that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's one of the biggest gifts of that. And I find that in my experience is that invariably the guys that have the anger invariably are the ones that have the biggest heart. And if they, right?
I
And
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
as I start to
resonates.
dig past the anger and I go, wow, man, no wonder you're angry. You got this big, huge
Right.
heart. That's
You
just
feel.
you feel it's like
Yeah.
you've got compassion for yourself and the world, and it's just,
Right.
it's just crying to get out.
Yeah.
And
they don't know what to do with it.
You don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Wow, that's really well said in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, and I think that's a lot of truth. And also honor that anger and go, it's okay to have it.
Yeah,
Does it serve you?
that's right.
And
Does-
does it
that's
get in your way?
It doesn't get in your way.
And how come you're allowing people to just dismiss you as doing that? Like, you're not helping yourself when you're doing that. Like,
That's right.
you can keep your anger, don't get rid of it,
Yeah,
but augment it with other tools and learn different things.
yeah, you bet.
Wow, this has been great. I really appreciate the conversation and
Well, it
you
has
taking
been.
your time. And so I want to thank you for your time, and I just want to say this is Luc Bouchard with Solve Act Life Coaching Services, and I am interviewing Stan Galbraith from Galbraith Law, and this is a man who's authentic and who knows about it, and I just really hope that what he said really resonated with a lot of you today, and I just want to thank you for your time again, Stan.
Well, thank you, Luke. What a
Okay.
pleasure.
Okay, bye now.
Great.